Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining the Health Ninja webinar. And I'm your host, Marika Hamilton, and I'm so excited that you're here tonight. Got a lot of great information that I want to share with you, so thank you so much for coming. My journey's been, I don't want to say an exciting one, it's been exciting at times, but my goodness, I've learned so much about how to get well, and more importantly, I think, how to stay well. So anyway, what we're going to do tonight is tell you a little bit about where I'm coming from and what I'd like to share with you tonight and kind of the general format. And so let's get started. Everybody ready? Woohoo! Let's do it! All right, well, listen, I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer and no family history, no particular risk factors. So it was sort of a shock. And before we get started into the webinar, one of the things that's really on my heart to share with you is something that I think women should in particular pay attention to. And, I, like a lot of people, got my mammograms done. I started my mammogram screenings at age 38, had 3 of them. Thought I felt a lump in my breast and did what I'm sure any of you would do. It went to the doctor, that is, and had it checked out. And what happened after that was interesting because the doctor told me that more than likely this was just normal changes in breast tissue and nothing to be concerned with. And I had 3 mammograms that were all exactly the same, all rated on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being no evidence of cancer, and 5 meaning that you have big problems. And I was a 1, no evidence of cancer, and no change from mammogram to mammogram. So coupled with that and my doctor telling me not to worry, I didn't really worry. Well, about 9 months after that, I went in for my next mammogram. And again, I got back the same results. On a scale of 1 to 5, I was a 1, and no evidence of cancer, and no change from prior mammograms. Well, it was a few days after that, and it was a Sunday night. I was kissing my husband goodnight, and I reached over to give him a kiss. My right hand grazed across my left breast. And at that moment, I was filled with a sense of dread. It still today makes the hair stand up on my arms. It was terrifying. And I knew that I was in big trouble. Once I figured out, I didn't understand where that feeling came from, but once I realized that it's when my hand touched my breast that this kind of feeling shot through me, I knew that I was in trouble. So I told my husband, I said, tomorrow, which was Monday, tomorrow I'm going back to the doctor. And by Friday, I had a cancer diagnosis. So why is this important? Well, to have 4 mammograms at that point that said I was okay, and a doctor that wasn't concerned about the lump that I had found, it's not exactly the thing you're expecting. And at this point in time, so much time had gone by that I was now stage 3, not stage 1, not stage 2, stage 3. It only goes to stage 4. So the reason that this is an important part for me to share with you and part of my mission with what I'm doing and how I'm leveraging my experience hopefully to help others is because, as it turns out, mammograms aren't that great a screening device for women that have dense breast tissue. And it's estimated, they did a sampling of women just in their 30s, it's estimated that 75% of these women have dense breast tissue, and so did I. So what does that mean to you, and what is dense breast tissue? Well, for starters, breast tissue is either fatty tissue or glandular tissue. And if you have dense breasts, it means that you have more glandular tissue and not a whole lot of fatty tissue. That's all well and fine, but when you look at your mammogram results and the radiologist actually reads these, what they see is the fatty tissue turns up dark and the glandular tissue turns up white. Cancer turns up white as well. So it's estimated that between 40 to 50% of cancers are missed in women that have dense breast tissue. And that's surely because of the fact the radiologist can't determine between the glandular tissue, which is white, and the cancer that shows up as white. So this is such an issue and still not really being widely talked about. It's such an issue, though, that many states now have passed laws that require a woman to be informed of your breast density. So why am I telling you this? Because obviously I want you to know. I'm not suggesting you don't get a mammogram, but I want you to know you need to find out what your breast tissue density number is and how and if that affects the screening that you want to have done. Now, I can already see there's got a lot of questions on the screen. I'm going to try and keep up with this the best that I can. And one of those is, well, if not a mammogram, what? Well, an MRI is an option for you. There is radiation involved in that. But a new screening technology which is becoming more and more adopted is the use of thermography. And this actually detects temperature changes in your breast, and they do a baseline and then monitor you through subsequent scans to see if there's any temperature changes. And they can detect cancer pretty early on, and much earlier on than oftentimes a mammogram can. And what's nice about this is that there's no radiation involved. You don't need a doctor's order if you want to get one of these scans done, and it's completely non-invasive. So that might be something that you want to check out. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now in terms of the mammograms and how I got to where I got to, and we'll get on with the webinar. So hang on just one second. Let me if that changes. Okay, so you guys ready to get started? I'm going to take you through a quick presentation and we'll hit the ground running. So you ready to go? Why is this not working? Here's a little information about me. I'm a mom, 2 teenage girls, one off in college, a wife, obviously, and a lifelong entrepreneur. As I mentioned, I'm a stage 3 cancer survivor, and I declined all conventional treatment other than having the initial lumpectomy. So no radiation, no chemotherapy, no hormone therapy for me. And really what I've turned this into for myself, I really felt like I had to sort of make lemonade out of those lemons. And for me, that meant leveraging the crap out of this situation that I found myself in to really kind of not only help myself but to help others. And that really has become my life's mission and my purpose to a huge extent. In fact, in all the things I've done over my life, I can tell you that this is probably something I'm more passionate about and more driven by than anything I've ever done. So in a way, you know, cancer was a huge gift to me, and in a way it was the best thing that ever happened to me. One of the things that I like to say is that I wouldn't want to do it all again, because obviously there's been, you know, a lot of stressful, dark times, but I wouldn't want to undo it. This has really been just a transformation in my life, like I said before, my life's purpose, and I'm just so excited and on fire about it. And you know, what greater gift is there than to help others get healthy? So we're going to skip on over to this right here. Got to get this little bit of housekeeping out of the way. This is a disclaimer. As you're probably aware, I am a doctor in no way, shape, or form. So Please, this is not medical advice. This is not advice or treatment suggestions. This is just me sharing my experience, and you should never discard anything or discount anything your physician has told you based upon anything you hear in this presentation. And I'm sure you appreciate where I'm coming from with that. And really what it comes down to is it's up to you to do your own research and find out, maybe how some of this stuff resonates with you in terms of your treatment. And one other thing I'd like to say, although I declined conventional therapy, the chemo, radiation, and hormone therapy, I am in no way suggesting that anybody else needs to go down that road. Everybody's treatment choice needs to be respected, because it's the last thing you need really is someone judging what you're doing. You'll know what the best option is for you, and long and short of it, chemo works for some people, alternative therapies work for other people. Sometimes neither of them work for anybody, right? I mean, there's no guarantees, there's no crystal ball, and there's no one size fits all when it comes to treating cancer or many other diseases. So this is an individual choice. It's an individual treatment plan that you have to decide upon for yourself in terms of what direction you want to go and what resonates with you and your intuition. So here's what to expect. This webinar is kind of based off of a snippet of my 6-week program called 7 Steps to Accelerated Health. And we're going to spend about 30 minutes just going over some of the most commonly talked about stealth health tips and techniques that I apply in my own life. We'll have a few minutes of Q&A, and I don't actually have the checklist uploaded, so you'll have to ignore that because I forgot to take it off the slide, so sorry about that. All right, here's a little quote from me. We think more about what we feed our dogs than what we feed ourselves. I mean, think about it, because we all know that dogs get fed dog food. But, why is it that we don't feed our dogs pizza? Well, besides the fact that they'll probably throw up on the rug, we don't feed dogs pizza because it does exactly that. It can make them sick. It's not what they're designed to eat. So we feed a dog food. But if you think about it, what would a human eat in the wild? If you were way back when, caveman time, what would you be eating? Because having a natural diet that's designed for your species is a huge component to your overall health. And we've lost our way. We eat and choose our food based upon what sounds good or what we feel like. But in addition to that sort of misguidance, we kind of don't have a chance. Today's food is so loaded with food additives such as MSG, that's short for monosodium glutamate, that it confuses our brain, makes us eat way more food than we would originally do, and it has us craving for the wrong types of foods. So that's a pretty big problem, because we are very disconnected to our diet, and we're so intellectually developed that this isn't really something that happens to other species. They pretty much know what food they need, and they go about figuring out how to get it. So I have this question for you. Oftentimes we hear that we're referred to as a hunter and a gatherer, and although I don't disagree with that, I would maybe switch those around, because it would seem that maybe the terminology should be gatherer and hunter. And why do I say that? Well, let's just look at some clues in our body. First of all, check out your teeth. If you compare your teeth to your cat or your dog's teeth, we definitely have a different set of teeth. We don't have the teeth of a carnivore. And secondly, your digestive tract. If you look at any of the anatomical pictures or diagrams of carnivores, you'll notice that their digestive tract is really short compared to an animal that eats a lot more grains and plant-based diet. And thirdly, do you have fingernails or claws? This is, Fingernails, what are they good for? Scratching ourselves? I don't know, painting them? Claws are definitely tools that are used to hunt. We don't have claws. And the last point that I wanted to make is that really for humans to hunt, we need tools and ingenuity, not just our raw physical being to be able to hunt effectively. And so I think that makes a pretty good argument to the fact that maybe we're more gatherers and hunters than we are the other way around. So I know you don't want to hear this, and I'm so sorry. But what does that mean for you in order to stay healthy? You got to eat lots of fruits and vegetables. I know that's boring, right? But that's just what it comes down to. Lots of fruits and veggies, and grains is fine too. And when I got my diagnosis, of course I was completely freaked out, as anybody would be. And for me, overnight, I gave up all animal products, meaning all dairy, all meat, chicken, turkey, no sugar, no processed food, no alcohol, and no coffee. And the coffee was kind of a tough one. Everybody knows that morning beverage is more ritual than it is actual drinking a beverage. So it was a tough one. And I'm not vegetarian or vegan or whatever you want to say by choice. I love meat. I get very excited about my food, but this is a choice that I had to make when I realized the implications of continuing on a diet that was animal product based. And it's kind of weird because you would think it would be so strange to have a salad at a restaurant or to make a salad without meat on it, but yet that's mainly that's a good portion of what I'm living on. So before we go any further, you see the stop sign on the screen, obviously, and that's because probably your eyes are glazing over and you're thinking, I got to give up all this stuff to be healthy. And I just want to say, just stop right there. This is what I had to do. What I chose to do, I guess, would be a better way to say it. But listen, I was in a dire situation. A dire situation. You may not necessarily be in the same situation that I am. So I'm not suggesting that you do what I do at all. This is just what I did. So because of that, I don't want to talk about all the things that you shouldn't be doing. Let's talk about the things you should be doing. And you probably are thinking, I know what she's going to say, and you're probably right. So just bear with me for a second. Okay, so with all that stuff taken out of my diet, what I hear a lot is, what the hell do you eat? Well, it comes down to the fact that I actually survive quite nicely on about 90% fruits and veggies. I do occasionally have some whitefish and some salmon, but that's really about it for any meat products. And a good portion of that is actually raw. And there's no bacon. As much as I'd love there to be, there's no decent veggie bacon. But that's pretty much what my diet is. And I was always pretty thin to start with, and amazingly enough, on a diet of fruits and vegetables, I've actually gained weight. And from the research that I've done, what happens is that if you're overweight, your body will stabilize your weight by bringing you down to a level that's healthy for your frame. If you're underweight, you'll actually gain weight, and that's what happened to me. And I'm not going to say I'm excited about that, but I have certainly a different set of priorities now, in as much as I can't put being skinny over being healthy, if you know what I'm saying. So anyway, and I point that out because you're not going to waste away and die. Trust me. And if you look at some of the large mammals we have, such as gorillas and horses and cows, they're not even omnivores, they're straight herbivores, they eat massive amounts of vegetation. And they have to get all of their nutrient needs met through that vegetation. And in addition to that, that vegetation has protein in it. And a lot of people think that protein only comes with animal products, when in fact, if you take straight carrot juice, for example, it has just a little bit less protein in it than breast milk has in it. So it's a pretty, I think carrot juice is amazing. It's a pretty effective way to actually get your protein needs met. So no worries there. Trust me, I'm still alive. So what does this mean to you? Well, I guess that depends upon, first of all, what your objective is. You know, if you're currently healthy or whether you're currently unhealthy, and you're pretty much going to know what camp that you're landing in. And if you're currently healthy, it's really important that you're proactive. And I'm going to switch back to the screen here real quick. Okay, this is me getting your attention and talking to you just one-on-one. Why do I want you to be proactive? Because you don't want to go through what I've had to go through, what millions of other people have to go through. And this isn't meant to scare you, but the reality of it is 1 in 3 men are predicted to have cancer during their lifetime. I'm sorry, 1 in 2 men predicted to have cancer in their lifetime, and 1 in 3 women. So please, be smarter than I was. Learn to listen to your body, learn to listen to your intuition, and get healthy this side of a diagnosis, no matter what it is. And maybe it's not cancer, but maybe it's arthritis, maybe it's diabetes. If you have your health, honor, cherish, and protect that with everything you can, okay? Okay, we're cutting back to the presentation. Okay, so you want to be proactive. You need to incorporate in as many fruits and vegetables as you can and cut back on the consumption of animal products. And please limit consumption of all processed foods. And why is this important? Processed foods would be anything that comes in a can. Maybe it comes in a box or a bag at the grocery store. If it comes in any 3 of those, rest assured that any of that food is dead food. And in order for your body to get the nutrition that it needs from that food, your food needs to still be alive. So stay around the outside edge of the grocery store where you'll find all your fresh fruits and vegetables and find your grains, and you'll be much healthier. Your body can assimilate that stuff much better. And I am going to email to you guys a list of some anti-cancer food, which I think is a great guideline to incorporate into your everyday diet. It's amazing. There's anti-cancer foods that have an effect on your body, which they're now recreating in cancer treatments made by pharmaceutical companies. I mean, the foods are that effective. So we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Okay, so if you're currently unhealthy, and I'm sure you're already doing this, you need to take immediate action with your nutrition. And we're mainly looking at a small part of nutrition during this this particular webinar. There'll be some other topics coming up, but nutrition is huge. One of the scary things that my oncologist told me, because before we chose the direction we wanted to go in for treatment, we checked out all the options, and you should do the same. The last question my husband asked before we left the oncology office was, what role does nutrition play in her getting well? And the answer stunned us. We were told by the oncologist that nutrition is not a factor that they consider. Now, I was horrified and confused by that response, but really an oncologist is there to prescribe chemotherapy and administer it to you. They don't, you know, nutrition isn't a part of that, but it really, really should be. So anyway, you as well need to incorporate as many fruits and vegetables as you humanly can. And I got to tell you, you've probably heard all about juicing. You got to be juicing. As much as you can ingest, the better off you're going to be. It's concentrated living nutrition that your body can utilize without spending any resources. We'll touch on that a little bit more too. And please, again, with the processed foods, if you ain't making it, baby, you don't know what's in it. And that's really what it comes down to. You want to control what you're having in your body and what you're consuming. And the only way you can really do that is by fixing that food yourself. And like I said, the free download, I will email that to you guys so you have that on hand. So what's the big deal? We kind of talked about this a little bit. You want those live enzymes because that's really, the most powerful nutrition you can give your body. So when you go through the drive-thru at Burger King, you want to look to see what you're being given. If anything's cooked, it's not alive anymore. So if you're having, a Whopper Jr. and French fries, and no, I'm not talking about you, Mom and Dad. If you're having that meal, but the only thing living on that's going to be a slice of tomato, which probably is okay on occasion, but you've got to be really conscious of that and how much live food you're actually able to digest and get into your body each day. So, one thing that we need to do to stay healthy is conserve our resources. And what I mean by that is that your body has a finite amount of resources, and you get to budget how you're going to spend those resources. Are you going to spend them on digestion? Are you going to spend them on your immune system? And the way that you can impact that is by what you eat. Because digesting takes more energy than anything else your body does. That's why the food is so important, is you want something that's going to be easily digested, because when your body uses less energy digesting food, guess what? It has more energy to work on your immune system and to keep all the other detox stuff that your body's overloaded with checking along. So make sure that you're thinking in terms of everything you put in your body is either helping your body or hindering your body's ability to stay healthy. So anyway, that's why the food consumption is really, really important. And to speak of that with juice really quick, when I juice, it's mainly vegetable based, maybe carrot, cucumber, we love ginger, fennel, some kale, and usually put a lemon in there. So it's mainly, and some green apples. Green apples would be probably the only fruit that goes in there. There probably is between 1 and 2 pounds of produce that goes into, let's say, a 16-ounce glass of juice. You can never eat that much. I mean, can you imagine? That's a lot of produce. But you can juice it, you can break open those live enzymes, save your body the trouble of having to break down all of the fiber, and within minutes it's been proven that when you consume juice like that, it almost immediately gets into your bloodstream and your body has to do very little to digest it. And that's really the kind of 1-2 punch of juicing, is you're getting a massive dose of concentrated nutrition, but in a way that your body doesn't have to spend a lot of resources to digest it. So juicing is freaking awesome. It's done actually more for me. Well, let me put it to you this way. After I've been juicing for about 6 weeks, I noticed some changes. First thing was, ladies, listen up, and even gentlemen that might be a little bit spotty on the hair on top. The first thing was when I went to get my hair cut, they said, "What is going on with your hair?" And I said, What do you mean?" They said, "You have all of these baby hairs, like they would see on children, growing underneath my regular hair," which is pretty unusual, and I attribute that directly to the juicing. The other thing that was more stunning to me is that I had some kind of virus that caused these lumps to be on my left index finger, which was very painful. And I had had that for about 15 years, and it was so painful, in fact, that I stopped using that finger. Whenever I did anything with my hands, I held that finger out because I didn't want to take the chance I'd knock it. And like I said, it was painful, so I really was trained by that pain. About 6 weeks into juicing, I just happened to look down at my finger and said, "Holy crap." My finger was completely fine. So that virus is still in my body, but when I'm giving my body the proper nutrition and supercharging it through juicing, my body has not, number one, it's much more nutritious based from the juice, but number two, it has much more resources to keep those kind of things in check. So that's why I'm such a firm believer. And if I back off the juicing, or you know, get out of my routine or traveling a little bit, guess what? I start getting those lumps back on my finger. So to me, that's kind of a nice barometer of how well my immune system's doing. Now, we talked a little bit ago about how there are anti-cancer foods. And what's really, really interesting about the cancer is that, and about these foods, is they're replicating the same compounds into pharmaceutical drugs now to actually treat cancer, and these are FDA-approved treatments. But they've also shown that these foods are as effective as these pharmaceuticals. So Dr. William Li, he's a Harvard graduate, has a great TEDx talk, and you'll find it on Netflix, and you can certainly find it on YouTube. And his TEDx talk is titled something like this: Can we eat to starve cancer to death? And what he means by this is that almost all of us have microscopic cancers in our body that are harmless. And they're harmless because they haven't developed their own blood supply. And this process of developing a blood supply is called angiogenesis. Now, once angiogenesis gets turned on, it's very hard to get it turned back off again. And that's basically the camp that I'm in. I mean, it's a hard road to hoe when you have a stage 3 diagnosis, because that's exactly what happened to me. My tumors had been there long enough that they started to develop their own blood supply. Well, what they found is that eating these anti-cancer foods at practical levels, and you'll see the quote on the screen, eating 2 to 3 servings of tomatoes a week reduced the occurrence of prostate cancer by 40%. Now, as you probably know, prostate cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in American men. And those that still did get prostate cancer, their tumors were measurably smaller than those that were not eating the tomatoes. Now, I'd like to point out as well that these tomatoes have lycopene in them. You've probably heard of that. They say it's in ketchup, but ketchup is not really something you should be eating. By the way, 1 tablespoon of ketchup has a teaspoon of sugar in it, which cancer loves sugar too, so you really need to be avoiding the ketchup. But don't get me sidetracked. Anyway, lycopene is out of tomatoes, and lycopene is actually more easily absorbed by your body if, first of all, the tomatoes are cooked and they're ingested with a little bit of fat, meaning olive oil. So maybe pop them in your oven, swig a little bit of olive oil over them, put a little salt and pepper on them, and cook tomatoes. You'll get the most amount of benefit from that lycopene. So anyway, you don't want to not be proactive and end up with a situation where these harmless microscopic cancers in your body are able to actually develop their own blood supply and therefore spread very dangerously throughout your body. So I just found that fascinating. Like I said, his name is Dr. William Li. You can see that on the screen. You can watch his TEDx talk on Netflix or YouTube. I'll be releasing actually a video about it here coming up, so be sure to check that out too, and that'll give you some more information. I'm going to take a swig of water here, so hang on just a second. Okay, so I already have some questions coming in. So you'll notice on the right-hand bottom portion of your screen, you have the ability to enter in questions, and you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to scan through here just real quick and see the ones that are already up here. Okay, somebody asked what the name of the scan was. That's a thermogram. Or I've heard it referred to as thermography, and they're becoming quite prevalent. So if you get the opportunity, check it out. And like I said, a lot of places can do them without a doctor's order. So it's just something you can go in and figure out what your baseline is and keep track of what's going on. Somebody else asked about Turmeric, yes, turmeric is definitely an anti-cancer food. I have a video all about turmeric actually, and interestingly enough, it's turmeric is credited with one of the reasons why India's cancer rates on both breast, prostate, lung, and brain cancer, which are our top 4 cancers, their cancer rate for those 4 cancers is 10 times lower than ours, which is pretty staggering. But in addition to being a anti-cancer food, they are showing massive results, very encouraging results with turmeric in a litany of different illnesses. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but the one that really was emphasized was osteoarthritis. It's so effective as an anti-inflammatory and a pain reliever that they are actually able to replace the use of NSAIDs with the turmeric. So I really recommend, my husband and I both take that every day, and I feel like that's a very important supplement for you to be taking. So let's get down here. Someone asked, can you eat canned food? Well, you know, you can eat canned food, but keep in mind that there's really no living nutrients left in that food. I'm not saying it's devoid of nutrition, but if you're really looking to supercharge your health, you really want the living food. And just ask yourself, is this still alive or is it dead? And if it's been cooked or heated to a high temperature, you can sort of rest assured that it's not alive anymore. It's not bad for you. It's just not as good as, you know, what you could have to eat. Do I like eating clay? Do I like it? Well, not really. It's not that bad, though. I just kind of tell myself I'm drinking chocolate milk. Since I don't have chocolate and I don't have milk anymore, it's kind of a nice way to do it. Eating clay, it depends what kind you're eating. What you want, if you're going to be going down the road of clay, which is a really, really powerful detoxifier, is you want to make sure that you're eating a food-grade calcium bentonite clay. I'll say that one more time. It's calcium bentonite clay. And there's also information on my website in regards to that. I believe if you look for a link on my website called Breast Cancer and Body Odor, you'll find not only information about the clay, but there's also a contact at the bottom of a source that I trust, because I do take clay internally, but clay can be used for so many things. The benefit of clay, or the uniqueness of it, is that it is a positively charged ion, whereas, and I might have got the positive negative backwards, but whatever it is, it's reversed. Whereas viruses and bacteria, toxins in your system have the reverse charge. So clay can not only draw those things to it, but it can absorb those things into it. And because clay is not digested in your system, it just passes through your system and actually is able to pull those toxins, bacteria, viruses, whatever they are, actually right out of you. So clay's fascinating. They do clay baths. They've had a lot of success with treating even autism. They do clay baths for children with autism, and they have remarkable results with that. So I think clay is amazing. If you have burns, they use it in burn clinics. If you have any bites, clay has such an amazing drawing ability. It's just an incredibly effective tool that we actually keep on hand at all time. And the important thing about clay, and not to get off into a hole, I do have a video on it because it is such an effective tool, but you want to make sure, like I said, it's food grade if you're going to be ingesting it. You want to make sure that you are not using anything metal, because you don't want to disturb the charge that I talked about earlier. So a ceramic bowl and maybe a plastic spatula to activate the clay with some filtered water, and you should be all set. Canned tomatoes for lycopene. Yes, I would imagine that canned tomatoes are a great source of lycopene. And although that study was done on I think 79,000 men in regards to prostate cancer. It's also very important for other types of cancers as well. Someone asked a question about staying alkaline. Clay gives your alkalinity a boost. It's a very alkaline product. I would recommend that you incorporate getting a lemon somehow in your diet every day. Maybe you just make some lemon water. Maybe you drink a glass of lemon water before you go to bed at night. But although lemon is acidic, it actually has an alkaline effect on your body. And that's kind of confusing because things that are alkaline can have an acidic effect on your body. Such things as milk is alkaline and meat is alkaline, but when digested by your body, they become acidic. And with milk, for example, milk actually has such a dissifying effect on your body that in order to normalize itself again, your body actually leaches calcium out of your bones to get you down to a stable pH again. So this is the reason why countries that have the highest dairy consumption, such as America, also have the highest rate of osteoporosis and hip fractures. So do some research on milk, and you'll find some surprising, controversial things out there that may make you rethink milk. And while we're on the subject of milk, milk protein, which is called casein, has been shown in lab rats to actually fuel cancer growth. So, and if you go low fat, you're actually just getting a lower fat to protein ratio. So if you're going low fat or no fat, you're actually ingesting more casein than you would in a full like a whole milk product. And I mean, do some Google searches on casein and tumor growth, and you'll be shocked that it actually turns on and off cancer growth. So milk is definitely not something that's on our grocery list. We use an alternative here. So let's see what else we have here. Okay. All right, got a couple other questions here. Let me see, just going to flip through what's rest on our agenda. Okay, how much juice do I recommend every day? Well, you know what, I say recommend, but really this is just what I do, and you figure out what works for you. I try to drink at least 32 ounces of cold pressed juice every day, and that's usually spread throughout the day. And you know, with anything, juice is living. It's got those live enzymes in it, and you really want to consume that as in a shorter time period as you can that's practical for you. So that's what I do. What about bread? What are my thoughts on that? I personally don't eat a lot of bread. I like breads, especially my dad's bread. My dad makes wonderful bread, so he makes it challenging for me. Thanks a lot, Dad. But no, I really don't. I don't at home. And you know, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but make sure you're getting a good quality bread. It should never be a white bread. You need to have a whole grain product. And they do have some live sprouted breads called Ezekiel. They're in the freezer section, usually in the organic, which is probably the best option. I'm not crazy about it, and it's like $7 a loaf, so I just don't eat it. Can I combine alternative treatments and conventional treatments? Well, okay, probably, but you really need to be careful with this. There's just no way. There's no two ways about it. You need to make sure that you're talking to your doctor and that you guys are on the same plan, because what you can run into when you combine these two therapies is that chemotherapy, you know, there's a reason why your hair falls out and you lose all the lining to your stomach, and there's a, you know, chemotherapy is trying to wipe everything out. So if you come along with an alternative treatment and at the same time you're supercharging yourself with, you know, all this juice and all these great foods and really detoxing your system, well, those two kind of go, you know, head to head and may not be as effective. So just be careful with what you're doing. And if you've had chemotherapy. I'm going to have a link here towards the end. You guys can download a copy of my ebook called Seven Tips. It's just a short little ebook on some tips of what you can incorporate and how to detox. Some of the things, well, all of the things in there I do on almost a daily basis. So, but you want to be careful when you're detoxing after having chemotherapy, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of toxic stuff in your body, and if you detox too quickly, you can make yourself very ill, and you could, you could get liver failure. I've heard of that happening before, so it's not something to be taken lightly. Most alternative treatments, if you're going to get on, start on them seriously, they want you to be totally out of treatment for at least 2 to 3 months. So that kind of gives you an idea. So talk to your doctor on that one. Is there a particular supplement that everyone should take? Well, I don't know about that because everybody's different, and it's really hard to choose one. I have a number of different things that I feel really, really strongly about. One thing I would say is that, your immune system resides in your gut. So you got to make sure your gut is healthy. So I guess if I had to choose one, I'd say get yourself a really good probiotic, something that's refrigerated, because then you make sure that it has to be still alive, otherwise it's not going to do you any good. So check out to see what you can find at your health food store, but do make sure whatever you get is refrigerated. If you're going to order something like that on Amazon, my concern is that they'll sell it to you and they'll ship it to you, but who knows, where it's been for the last 3 or 4 days sitting in some hot warehouse, and you may just be throwing your money away. So I would probably tend to go to a health food store for something like that. And let's see, anything else up here? Very good. Well, I got a couple goodies for you guys, and I saw that a couple people couldn't get anything, so I'm sorry if that was the case. There will be a replay of this that so you can send me an email at marika@dealingwithhealing.com if for some reason that you can't get through. Just one more question here. Someone just said something about Epsom salt baths are good for detox as well. Yeah, yes. Epsom salt baths are just awesome anyway, but I usually do an Epsom salt and baking soda bath. I've read some good things about that, so you might want to do some research on that and see if you want to throw some baking soda in there as well, and maybe a little essential oil if you're feeling so inclined. Anyway, so if you had a problem with any part of this, the audio, I'm not sure. It looks like maybe just one person, but I can't tell for sure. Make sure you send me an email, marika@dealingwithhealing.com. Now, I'm going to pop up on the screen here on the right hand, what's down about coffee? Any ups about it? Huh. I don't know how to answer that question. Jeff asked what's down about coffee. I'm not really sure what you mean. Coffee is very acidic to your system, and cancer thrives in an acidic environment and does not do well in an alkaline environment. So not only does your nervous system not need that stimulation, but you certainly don't need to be doing anything in your life that's going to cause your system to be more acidic, which I know is sad to say. Maybe giving up coffee. I know. What about other dairy like yogurt? Yogurt is another good source. Any fermented products, such as, I think it's called kefir. There's also kibachi. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And any sort of like sauerkraut. Those are all filled with powerful macrobiotics that would be similar to what you get in a probiotic. So if you can get those in your diet on a regular basis, those are all really, really good things to add in, and just those would be something that would be sort of on that anti-cancer list, because not so much that it's shown effective against cancer, but because keeping your gut clear is so important, and the probiotics help balance out that good bacteria versus the bad bacteria. In fact, an interesting thing about the bad bacteria is that they're actually the result of many food cravings, because they actually have, I don't remember what it's called, but there's actually nerves that run directly from your gut all the way up into your brain, and that bad bacteria, if you have more of that than you're supposed to, it will start to send messages to your brain which will guide the types of foods that it needs you to eat in order for it to thrive, which is kind of interesting. So some of these food cravings are not just lack of willpower, it's actually these little guys in your intestines that are actually calling the shots down there, but none of us really know about it. So that's why the probiotics are so important. Okay, I think we're going to wrap up there. I wanted to get you the link to the ebook. You have to, hopefully this will pop up here in a second. And all right, so hopefully here in a second you should notice, if you've gone full screen with this presentation, you probably won't see this link. So if you're interested in getting a free copy of this, make sure you go back. I don't know, what's the opposite of full screen? Small screen? Go back small screen, doesn't sound right. And you should see on the right-hand corner, you can click that button. It will open a separate window for you, and you can grab that PDF. I also have one other thing here for you. I'm going to leave this just 1 second before I put the other thing up, and I'll just kind of talk about it ahead of time. This 7 tips of accelerated health should not be confused with my book that should be coming out next year called 7 Steps to Accelerated Health. This is just a very short, casual, abbreviated version, and there's a couple things I do in there to detox, which we won't talk about here live, but I'm sure you'll say, what? She does what? Yeah, I know. Well, you can read it and find out. I'll save myself the embarrassment here tonight. So anyway, this is just a short version of that. The next thing I'm going to show you is I actually have a CD coming out to be released the first week of October, and this is the 7 Meditations to Accelerated Health, which I'm very excited about. This is sort of a culmination of the tools that I've put together to not only dig myself out of a really, really big hole, but continue to keep my mind on track. Having a diagnosis as traumatic as cancer is terrifying, and it's stressful, and there's not a day that goes by that you don't worry and you don't think about it. And so when I realized what that fear and that worry did to suppressing my immune system, it's similar to when that lion chases a zebra. When that fight or flight response gets switched on, the zebra is no longer ovulating, no longer digesting food, and the zebra's immune system is not really working full scale either. So when I realized early on that fear and anxiety for me were so prevalent and so like rocking my world, I knew that if I didn't get it under control, that was going to be a good part of what was going to kill me, was just the fact that my immune system was switched off all the time because I was stressed out a lot. So that's where this tool kind of comes into play, in as much as I had to address that. So part of these, this CD, which I'm going to put up on the screen now, I'd like to give you guys a free track to this. The track will not be available till October, but you can register for it today, and then you'll be able to download it. The can't get it to come up, so hang on just 1 second for me. Oh, I think I figured it out. Hang on. All right, let's try this. Okay, there you go. Yay, I figured it out. Now I know for next time. Okay, so this is the 7 Meditations to Accelerated Health. If you're interested in getting a free track to that CD, I'm going to switch back on to me. Hello. Hi, everyone. If you're interested in getting a free track to that CD, I'm thrilled to share it with you, and you can kind of experience the tool that I've set out and the tool that I use to kind of keep myself centered. There's probably about there's 7 tracks on the CD, but you can get one for free. And also, if you click on that I'm interested link, it'll take you to another page. You can request the free track if you want. We're also offering a 50% off all pre-orders right now, so you can get it for $9.97. I think that'll be good through the next 24 hours, and you'll see that next page as you click on it. And I hope that's some good stuff for you, and another way for me to leverage my experience and really bring the very best of what's worked for me to you. So one other thing, if you've enjoyed this presentation, if you found it useful, help me share it with the world. You may see on the, I think the top right of your screen, there'll be a click that says something like this on Facebook or whatever, Twitter or something, I think it says. I sure would appreciate it if you help me spread my message along, and I'd love to see you on my next webinar. So anyway, that's about it for me. I will flip back and just to make sure there's no other questions here. Oh, Rosine wants to know, I worry about maybe what cancer does to my stress levels. Yeah, I hear you, sister. That's a tough one. And Rosine, get that free track if you don't want to buy the whole thing. At least get the free track, because we're going to be talking directly about that stress, and most importantly taking back some control over the functions of your body. We have this autonomic nervous system, and we just assume that we breathe because we breathe and it takes care of it. And although your immune system is also part of that autonomic system, you have some influence. You're the boss. Rosine, you are the boss of this, okay? So we just need to start thinking a little differently, and some of these meditations are going to walk you through, you don't have to be sitting, in a Zen-like position. You can go for a walk and listen to it. I really recommend that you play it at night, just in the background on a loop, just to kind of help get in that subconscious pattern and start to change your beliefs about how helpless that you can feel when you don't know what's going on in your own body. So I hope that helps. Let's see. I'm awesome. Hey, that's nice to hear. Thank you. John Newman says sourdough bread is good. I don't know much about that, John. Maybe because it has some sort of living culture in it that makes it healthy. I'm not really sure. Not a big fan of the white, refined sugars or flours, which I think sourdough is made out of. But I agree with you. It is very good. Is goat's milk the same issue? Ellen, I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to check that out for you. Can't answer that question. I'm sorry. Do I like almond milk? I pretty much just gave up all milk. A lot of the even box milks are very processed, for lack of a better word, and I really didn't drink all that much of it, so it really wasn't a big hardship for me. Personally, in the house, we buy the organic rice milk, and the kids and my husband seem to be okay with that. I'm sure he'd prefer real milk, but got to do what you got to do. Someone's drinking lemon water. Yes, lemon water's great. And let's see, talked about that. All right. So anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up. You guys can always shoot me an email. You can find me on Facebook. My Facebook name is Marika Hamilton, just like it appears on the screen. Please like my page, and you can follow all my work and help spread what I'm learning to other people, to not only help those that are ill, that need help getting back to health, but also those that are trying to be proactive with their health. And if you're interested in my program, 7 Steps to Accelerated Health, that is a 6-week program, probably should be 7 weeks given the title, but it's the 6-week program, and we do a combination of one-on-one calls. We do a combination of private chat groups and a bunch of other things to help identify what your health and nutritional goals are and what direction you need to be going in, and assessing sort of your state of your general state of health. And it's a great opportunity to work with one another, to get together in a group and kind of share that camaraderie of people that are not only just trying to be proactive, but those that actually have a health issue like myself that actually, you know, are walking the walk and talking the talk. So if you're interested in that program, feel free to jot me an email. Again, Marika at dealingwithhealing.com. We have another class starting up here in about a month, so it'll be a good time for you to get on board with that. And anyway, well, with that, we're going to sign off, and I really appreciate your time and your interest in your own health and being responsible for it instead of handing that responsibility over to somebody else wearing a white coat giving you another pill. So here's to our good health. I'm Marika Hamilton.